Support for the Don Lemon Show comes from the Freedom from Religion Foundation. So let's talk facts here, okay? Because across the U.S., politicians are pushing religion into public schools. We're talking 10 Commandments posters in every classroom, chaplains without clinical training, vouchers that funnel public money to private religious schools, many of which exclude LGBTQ students or non-Christians. It is happening right now. But the Freedom from Religion Foundation is fighting back. Not only are they fighting back, they are winning. In Texas, a federal court has just blocked a law that required schools to display the 10 Commandments in every classroom. That is a huge victory for religious freedom and the separation of church and state. So here is the bottom line here. Defend the First Amendment in court, in Congress, and in classrooms to protect students from religious coercion and keep public education truly public. So don't let your rights be rewritten. Learn more at ffrf.org/school or text my name, Don, that's DON, to 511-511. Standard text fees may apply. Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on the Don Lemon Show on the Don Lemon channel. We are so happy that you are with us today. Okay, appears to be. Am I a little choppy on the internet, guys? Is it me?
You're frozen right now, actually, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It happens every time. We'll see. Let's see if it'll catch up with us. So we're a little bit late because, and I'm not making an excuse, but what we're reporting on today is really sensitive. And so we wanted to make sure that we brought it to you with as much clarity, as much facts, and as much sensitivity as possible, because there is a lot of stuff going on, a lot of people with a lot of blame out there. Okay. And, we have trans terror question mark up there. It's because the FBI director, if we can put that up, the FBI director, Kash Patel, that is what he is calling it, terror. Okay. So Kash Patel, FBI director, updates on the shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The FBI is investigating the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and hate crime targeting Catholics. There were 2 fatalities, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. In addition, 14 children and 3 adults were injured, okay? The shooter has been identified as Robin Westman, a male born as Robert Westman. The FBI will continue to provide updates on our ongoing investigation with the public as we are able. And so the reason they said a male born as Robert Westman is because the reporting at this point is that the shooter is transgender. The right is losing their minds over it, as if the gender of the shooter is more important than the cause of this. Having the wrong people having access to guns, too much access to guns, an overabundance of guns in our culture. Not enough of a focus on mental health issues, not taking the stigma off of mental health, not encouraging people to go and talk to someone, to get therapy, to take care of their mental health issues, to get medication, or whatever it is that might prevent them from doing this. And perhaps even not an acceptance or an understanding of trans people. Who knows why? There is no legitimate reason for going into a school and doing this. So the fact that they are over-indexing on the idea that this is happened because the person is trans is just bullshit. And it's just a distraction from not talking about the real issues. As I will tell you, transgender people, like any other people, can have mental health issues, just like the straight male shooters, the overabundance of straight male shooters. That's who it usually is, white male shooters. It's usually a straight, young, white man. And so just like as they can have mental health issues, so can transgender people. And also, guess what? Transgender people can be on every spectrum. I know conservative transgender people. There are MAGA transgender people. So it does not mean that the shooter, because the shooter was transgender, reportedly, it does not mean that they are necessarily liberal or can fall into a liberal or conservative category. Who knows what it is? Usually when this happens, obviously someone has a mental health issue or they would not be acting out in this manner, okay? So neighbors talked about, you see the reports there from the Minnesota Star. Neighbors describe volley of gunfire in attack that unalived 2 children, wounded 17, sadly. What a horrific day in America. Now, to make the point that we're discussing about what this all means and whether the shooter left a manifesto and what it meant, is a shooter a Trump supporter or a liberal or a conservative or whatever it is. This is a report from Fox News on all of it, and it encapsulates what happened and also the hysteria surrounding this particular story that takes the focus off of where it should be, and that is on why all of the guns. Here it is.
The shooter's mother, police say, was an employee at one time of the school. We now know the suspect went by 2 names, identified as Robin and Robert Westman. Based on court documents, the shooter was transgender and, quote, identifies as female and wanted her name to reflect that identification. It was his mother who signed off on that court document for a change in name. Now, as we wait to learn more about the identity of the shooter, I want to bring in family therapist Thomas Kirsting and former CIA analyst Buck Sexton. Gentlemen, thank you both for being with me. Thomas, I'd love to start with you. As the police have acknowledged, there was a YouTube manifesto video uploaded simultaneous with the shooting. It has now been taken down from YouTube, but not before many could refute it. Assuming its authenticity, the shooter, Robert Westman, in that video displayed the pages of his manifesto and said things like, I'm full of pain. I've been suicidal for quite some time, but I don't want to go out on my knees. I don't want to bow. I want to go out on my own terms. He was almost apologetic to his family, but hateful to the world.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the big word there, Will. And, my heart goes out to these families and the community, but, the important word there is hate. An individual like that has a mind that's filled with anger, frustration, hate, and reached a point, and there's no justification for this, to commit such a horrific act. And I guess the big question I have, Will, is what is causing this type of behavior? As a therapist, I could tell you anecdotally that in recent years, I've seen so much more frustration, anger, divisiveness, and that sort of behavior taking place in society. I think those are the things we really need to address. And it really goes down to the roots, which is family.
Yeah, I want to play this for you, Buck. This is the chief of police in Minneapolis acknowledging the existence of this YouTube manifesto, something they say they are still poring over. Again, that manifesto, assuming its authenticity, has been displayed across social media. But here is Brian O'Hara suggesting, yes, in fact, this YouTube video, 11 minutes long, was uploaded simultaneous to the shooting.
I have no information to share on a motive other than saying, again, that there was some sort of manifesto that was timed to come out on YouTube. It's been taken down, and our investigators are going through that to try and develop a motive from that.
So, Buck, I, along with many others, have been able to see that entire 11-minute video on social media, and here are some of the things that Robert Westman wrote on his weapons that he displayed in this video. He displayed a shotgun, an automatic rifle, several pistols, along with loads of ammunition, magazines, clips, also sidearm holders. And he wrote on all of them with what appears to be a white Sharpie or a white marker. He wrote things like, "Kill Donald Trump." He wrote, "For the children," "Killer sadist," "Sponsored by BlackRock." He also had a smoke canister, Buck, where he wrote Jew gas. He also, on a separate piece of material, wrote 6 million is not enough. Hateful messages, really, honestly, Buck, across the board, written on these things, most in English, some, by the way, in Cyrillic. And he narrates it at times almost like the Joker in Batman, at other times like he's Gollum from Lord of the Rings. It's very disturbing.
And so there you have it, describing everything that is concerning about this. Again, it has been taken down. Police have not discussed. You heard the police chief there. talking about it, saying that they don't have a motive. But there were things that were uploaded to YouTube and then taken down. Of course, the AI and the excuse me, restrictions on these platforms are really tight. Sometimes so tight that it's hard to be able to tell the news, because the AI will pick it up, or whoever's monitoring it will pick it up and either strike it, pull the video down, or demonetize for just telling the news. That's what was in the manifesto, reportedly. That's what was written on the weapon, reportedly. All of those things. And so the whole idea, again, I don't want to get too far away. I want to remember the victims, and I remember the real thing here is to prevent this from happening again. But I also want to knock down this hysteria about transgender people being some other loony people that now all of a sudden we have to do something about it. Of course we have to do something about it, regardless of who it is. We had to do something about it when it was white dudes doing it, which is pretty much is. But somehow it's some special dispensation for them, but not for transgender people. We have to have the same rules for everyone when it comes to these issues. No one should be doing this. It's problematic that anyone does this. But let's focus on the community and the victims, and then we'll get back to all of this other mishigas and bullshit about some trans hysteria. Let's listen to is it Mayor Fry, I believe. Here it is.
Don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. There are no words that can capture the horror and the evil of this unspeakable act. Children are dead. There are families that have a deceased child. You cannot put into words the gravity, the tragedy, or the absolute pain of this situation. We are a Minneapolis family. But to everybody out there, do not think of these as just somebody else's kids. Those families are suffering immense pain right now. Think of this as if it were your own. Every one of us needs to be wrapping our arms around these families, giving them every ounce that we can muster. These were Minneapolis families. These were American families. And the amount of pain that they are suffering right now is extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. And just to give you all of the information before we continue on here today, as we told you, the FBI director is now calling this a terrorist, calling a terrorist fired, saying a terrorist fired a weapon through the windows of a Catholic church in Minneapolis, where students were celebrating their first mass of the new school year. Shooter took the life of an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old in the pews and injured 17 others. That's according to police. The attacker then died of a self-inflicted wound in the rear of the church. Of the 17 people injured, 14 were children. At least 2 are still in critical condition at this point. Annunciation Catholic Church is where the shooting took place, which has a school for children from pre-kindergarten through 8th grade. My goodness. It's exactly like my Catholic school. Pre-K to 8th grade with the church and the rectory and the convent. Investigators have identified the attacker as Robin Westman, as we reported, 23, believed to have been a former student at the school. That's according to law enforcement officials. With knowledge of the investigation, the suspect's mother is a retired school employee, the official said. No community, no one is immune from this. But this administration loves to point out violence in cities. When incidents of violence and people using the same types of weapons or just these weapons in general, it can happen anywhere. We need a comprehensive approach, not pushing members of the National Guard out onto the streets of our city. That is a Band-Aid. The suspect's social media account contains videos of diary entries that describe the killing of children and a drawing of the Annunciation Church sanctuary. The videos also show weapons, bullets, and what appear to be explosive devices scrawled with violent language, as was reported in that report from Fox News. Among the messages scrawled on the shooters, quote, "Unalive Donald Trump, burn Israel, slurs for Black people, you know, the N-word, brown people, and gay people." However, MAGA, as we said, has seized upon the fact that the shooter was trans, reportedly, and claims that this is evidence of a broader trans terrorist movement against conservatives and Christians. Bullshit. Why not focus on the real issues? Why the Republican Party continues to block sensible gun legislation that might help prevent these issues. Charlie Kirk, right-winger, extremist, troll, bigot, along with Michael Knowles, similar, ran about liberals and prayer. Watch.
Brian Krasenstein, a leading Democrat influencer, says, quote, "Praying is the problem here, not the solution. People use prayer instead of action. If prayer worked, a house of prayer wouldn't have just experienced this tragedy." That is the modern left. I want you guys to read that, saying that prayer is the problem. By the way, prayer leads you to action, but prayer is not...
Charlie Kirk, are you that fucking dumb? Are you really that depraved and deranged? You understand what this person is saying? They're saying prayer alone, thoughts and prayers, that is the problem, that you can't get beyond that. No one is saying do not pray. No one is saying do not think about the families. What they're saying is prayer alone is not going to fix this. If prayer alone was going to fix it, it would have fixed it already. It is not. Guess what has not been tried? Some rules and regulations around the guns and the limits of the Second Amendment. That has not been tried. And so therefore, that's why it has not worked. You can pray until the cows come home. And you are not going to stop the evil just with prayer. The Lord helps those who help themselves. So we need to help ourselves with some sensible thinking and messaging on this issue, and realizing that there are people who have mental health issues. There are people who are irresponsible. There are people who are, this person, how old is this young person? Brain not even fully developed yet, probably. Frontal lobe still developing. That should not have access to weapons, or at least military style weapons, or any type of weapons. Or people who have issues who should have been in some sort of system or something that would help them with their mental health issues. Keep going, Charlie Kirk.
Guarantee of a covering. Prayer is first and foremost an act of worship and an act of contrition to an almighty God that is the author of life.
Pause.
Michael Knowles.
Here's the problem, is that they are worshiping guns. They are praying to the God of guns, the NRA and the MAGA movement and the conservative movement. They're praying to the God of guns, and not the God that he says prayer should come first. It's an act of worship. They are worshiping guns. And that worship of guns is causing the death of many, many people around this country. Thousands every day. And of young people in schools, in church, praying. Charlie Kirk, I don't think you're understanding what this person is saying, because my God is telling me as a believer, my God is telling me that there is a problem on the right. There is a problem with the let's just pray about these things. What do you think Jesus would do if he was here? Do you think Jesus would be like, hey, let's go shoot everybody, let's with the guns, and oh, we don't care that, you know, the kids are being killed in school because of the access to guns, and because we're demonizing people and otherizing people instead of trying to understand other people and having an open mind and not a non-judgmental mind, that we're trying to blame this on a marginalized group of people. And I have no love for what this shooter did, obviously. And I don't care if the shooter is black, brown, red, green, cisgender, whatever gender, transgender, straight, gay, whatever. What they did was wrong. And if they were alive, they should, if still alive, they should suffer the consequences. This is wrong no matter what. I'm not making excuses for anyone. But what's even more wrong than this is to not understand the situation that we're in right now. And instead of over-indexing on culture wars, as the right always does, and especially the right media, and especially MAGA, we should be over-indexing on compassion and how we prevent this from happening. Keep rolling the clip, please.
Both statements are absolutely vomit-inducing. These people, if they weren't so profoundly ignorant, would merit even more of our anger. But let's just follow their ideas to their conclusion. What they're saying is, don't pray. Prayer is stupid. Let's make fun of these dead Christian kids and their families.
There was, can you just put the back up just a little bit to what they said, and then we'll go into, just put the statement up. Just back up to the statement part. Okay. I didn't see anything in there where he said, don't pray. Did you guys in the comment section or producers, do you see anything that says don't pray? He said praying is the problem here, not the solution. Is that we always say thoughts and prayers. Can you guys not read? I mean, you talk Michael Knowles. I have no idea who this is. I've seen this guy a couple of times, but whatever. I don't know why. It's whatever. Don't you understand what they're saying? Praying is the problem here, because all we offer is thoughts and prayers every single time. All we offer are thoughts and prayers in this situation. The solution is not thoughts and prayers. I will pray that you come to your senses, and that the right comes to their senses, come to their senses and think and get some sensible legislation across, some thinking, some policies, some laws, some restrictions that are going to help kids not die, that are going to keep this from happening. He explains in the next sentence, Charlie Kirk and Michael Knowles, people use prayer instead of action, dummies. Now, unless you're just that dumb or you're just doing this on purpose, I don't understand. You must be really dumb. This makes total sense. If prayer worked, a house of prayer wouldn't have just experienced this tragedy. I mean, it sounds logical to me. I might have added if only prayer and thoughts worked. I might have put only in there, but I understand what this person is saying, and I don't look to a Twitter post to be perfect or whatever post this is, but I understand, I get the gist of what this person is saying. Keep going.
Prayer is stupid. Let's make fun of these dead Christian kids and their families for praying. What idiots they are. They shouldn't pray. What's the alternative? Well, the alternative, I think, quite clearly is that we just need to elect progressive politicians and enact progressive policies, because that's going to lead to progressive action to solve.
Did anybody hear anyone say that? No one said that. No one said that. These people are hearing voices in their heads. Perhaps they should not be able to have access to weapons. Keep going.
Of these problems and to prevent mass shootings. He's a Democrat mayor. They're in a Democrat state. There's a Democrat.
It's democratic. The grammatically correct way to say it is he's a Democratic mayor in a Democratic city in a Democratic state. Anyways, go on.
Governor. They're full of Democrat legislators. They have all of that. How come they didn't fix it? Huh? You know, if the point is that you're.
They didn't fix it because of the national gun laws and because of the NRA. Are you kidding me? That's the whole problem with sending the National Guard, when you guys won't even discuss how to fix these things. You want to take away the funding and the money that would prevent a lot of this. But then you blame the people in the city and the states where there are issues, saying that they're not getting a handle on it. When on the national level, you're not doing shit. You're blocking all kinds of legislation that could help with these issues. Keep going.
Wasting all your time praying when instead you should be electing Democrats so that we can implement our wise policies. Well, you know what? You all were elected and you didn't figure it out either. And this is one of the errors of liberalism. You know, liberalism says no gods, no kings, only men. We are going to, through our rationality, create a perfect society. We're going to ignore original sin. Original sin is not real. We're going to live in this perfected utopia. That hasn't worked out very well.
Okay, guys. All right, stop. God, these people are so demented and warped. Everything to them is through a political lens and owning the liberals and that. It's my God, what is wrong with you? Yes, you're right, David, in the comments. Shut the fuck up. Have some respect. If you cared so much about original sin in the Bible and God, then you would not be treating Donald Trump as a deity, as a god. You would not be doing that. Of how you guys are treating God as if he is a deity. You know what God says about having false gods. Before him. I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods but me. It is the very first commandment. And I do believe with all these thoughts and prayers that you're taking, because you're going to be saying, Lord, oh, please help, whatever. And the Lord's going to say, you have a government there that you have set up and you have free will. So work it out. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. And how about thou shalt not kill? Fucking idiots. A word from our sponsors. Support for the Don Lemon Show comes from Mint Mobile. You know what doesn't belong in your summer plans? A bloated wireless bill. While you're planning beach trips, barbecues, and long weekends, your phone bill should not be the last thing holding you back. That's why so many people are switching to Mint Mobile. With Mint, you get the same coverage and speed that you're used to, just for a lot less money, okay? Right now, Mint is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. That's high-speed data, unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. So bring your own phone, keep your number, keep your contacts. My team has tried Mint Mobile, the quality on par with the big carriers, with the big guys, crystal clear calls, reliable coverage, unlimited data for way less. So skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Go to mintmobile.com/Don Lemon and grab this deal. 3 months of unlimited wireless for just $15 a month. That is mintmobile.com/Don Lemon. Now, there's an upfront fee of $45 payment required for the first 3 months. New customers only. Speeds may slow after 35 GB. Taxes and fees are extra. See the site for details. Support for the Don Lemon Show comes from Shopify. This show started as an idea, a dream. Maybe you have one too, a side hustle, a big idea, but you're asking yourself, what if I can't do it alone? What if I don't have the skills? Turn those what ifs into why nots with Shopify. Shopify powers millions of businesses from household names to startups and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. So here at the Don Lemon Show, we use Shopify to bring you the merch that you love, that you demanded, okay? So don't know how to design a website? Shopify has ready-to-go templates. Need help with product descriptions or discount codes? No problem. Shopify's AI tools have your back. They'll even help you find customers with simple email and social media campaigns. And if you get stuck, 24/7 award-winning customer service, they are there. So turn those dreams into sales with Shopify. So sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. You to our sponsors. Okay. Governor Tim Walz had a message for the people of Minnesota and America. Here it is.
I think certainly a day and a news conference that no one wants to be at. A community behind us, Annunciation Church and School, committed to academics, service, and Catholic values, filled with the first days of school of beautiful children going to learn those values, share with their teachers and their classmates. And instead of that joy and that curiosity and that learning, they were met with evil and horror and death. And we often come to these and say, these unspeakable tragedies, or there's no words for this. There shouldn't be words for these types of incidents because they should not happen. And there's no words that are going to ease the pain of the families today. On behalf of all the people of Minnesota, our deepest sympathies.
Our deepest sympathies for the pain of those families, and really all over the country that feel pain. I was on this morning with Mike Nellis, who is a Democratic advisor and consultant and donor, and he started breaking down about, because he has a 6-year-old in school, and he said, I can just only imagine. So I'm sure there are many parents around the country who are feeling the same way today, but I can't imagine what those families who are directly involved in this, what the community is going through right now. But I do know, I can tell you from experience, just how close-knit, when you have a Catholic church like that has a school, parochial school, Catholic school that's connected to it, it is a close-knit family. It's probably a small group of, I think it was like 28 or so. I went to school when I was in Catholic school from pre-K to 8th grade with the same 28 people that were like families. We all knew each other we were family. Some of us like sisters and brothers, all over each other's homes all the time, traveling together. Family for those 10 years that we were together, pre-K, K to 8th grade. And then a lot of them went on to go to the same Catholic high school for years. And then a lot of them went on to go to the same college. It's a close-knit community. And I know that they're grieving and hurting right now when there are people who are like Benny Johnson, another crazy right-winger who's out here tweeting stuff like this. One thing is very clear. The trans community is radicalizing the mentally ill into becoming violent terrorists who target children for murder. The pattern is undeniable. Now, Benny Johnson, Benny. The streets are talking, sir. You might want to keep that LGBTQ anti stuff. Zip it. Because the streets are talking. unless you want to be outed. Shh, zip it. I'm just saying. Here's Cam Caskey, who is a friend of the show. And by the way, I'm going to be on Cam's show in a couple weeks. Saying this country has become much crueler, a much crueler place. I agree.
You have to say about where we are in this country.
Well, after the shooting in Parkland, what you saw was this unbelievable outpouring of support. And that was a huge part of what propelled my classmates and I to step up and say there are laws that can be passed to prevent shootings like this from happening. But the country has become a much crueler place. The country has become even more desensitized to violence in recent years. I mean, not long ago, there were political assassinations in the state of Minnesota. People were killed in their home by somebody pretending to be a police officer, and that has completely left the public conversation in a way that it just wouldn't have in 2018. So I feel for this community, and I encourage everybody to show them support, because we've gotten to a point where everyone has seen so many of these school shootings. People have seen widespread violence in so many forms across the board, and there just aren't going to be the same support systems. There are organizations advocating for gun violence prevention that also do community building for communities that face something like this. But in general, after the Parkland shooting, after Uvalde, the country had to catch its breath for a moment and showed so much support to these people who were affected. But we're going to stop talking about the shooting within the next couple days.
Yeah.
This administration and the nature of our country right now, there's just too many tragedies on a daily basis for us to give this the attention that it deserves, and it's a shame.
Cam Caskey is right. It's too much. Now, I said we're going to stop talking about this in a day or two. What I said earlier in other interviews, in other posts that you'll see here on the Don Lemon channel, this whole trans thing may keep it in the news a couple more days, but then this will be gone too, which is a sad thing. We've become inured, sadly. But Cam is right. Sad, but true. Now to the victims. 10-year-old shooting survivor. Brace yourselves. Speaking out.
My friend got hit in the back.
Did he go to the hospital?
Yeah, he went to the hospital.
What went through your mind when you saw that?
I was super scared for him, but I think now he's okay. I was scared that I wasn't going to see her because I didn't know what was happening, really. I was just in shock. It was like right beside me. I was like 2 seats away from the stained glass windows. So they were like, the shots were like right next to me. The first one, I was like, what is that? I thought it was just something. Then when I heard it again, I just ran under the pew. And then I covered my head. My friend Victor like saved me though, because he laid on top of me, but he got hit.
Your friend laid on top of you?
Yeah, and he got hit.
Is this something that you've practiced before?
Yeah, we practice it like every month, or I don't know, but yeah, we've never practiced it in the church though. Mm-hmm. Only in school, so it was way different.
What do you want to say to your friend who helped protect you?
He's really brave, and I hope he's good in the hospital.
And what do you want to say to everyone that had to go to the hospital?
I hope you're okay, and I'm praying for you.
10-year-old kid. Nobody should have to deal with this, but a 10-year-old kid. Come on, man. And you guys are arguing about trans and not trans. Really? Don't you feel stupid? Do we have another kid? Is it the same kid?
I think so, but the 8-year-old, the only other child that I saw being interviewed, we do have a clip of her.
All right, let's listen.
So I was just at church, and I heard something like really loud, like I thought it was fireworks in the church, and then I saw the shooting, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. And so a teacher led me downstairs to like the preschool classroom, And so I went there, and me and my friend Cece were just praying. I was just like praying if everybody could be safe and like nobody would do this again.
Boy. The kids, these are kids growing up too fast and shouldn't. I mean, you guys are talking about, women's reproductive rights and children and saving. Shouldn't you be trying to save these kids from and trying to get them to hang on to their innocence for as long as possible? For as long as possible. This is interesting. I haven't really made. I want to make sense of this because this is Trey Gowdy, who is a conservative. You guys remember Trey Gowdy was representative, is in Congress for a long time, and he says something interesting about young white male shooters. Let's see what has he seen the light?
Our system is reactive. Something bad happens, we react to it. And what people are crying for now is, how can we prevent this? How can we stop it? And the only way to stop it is to identify the shooter ahead of time or keep the weapons out of their hands. And so we're going to have a conversation of freedom versus protecting children. I mean, how many school shootings does it take before we're going to have a conversation about keeping firearms out? It's always a young white male, almost always. I mean, did anyone this morning think, I wonder if that was a female? Did any of y'all think that? I mean, there's been one school shooting involving a female. One. Yeah, Tennessee. But other than that, it is usually young white males.
But do we not already have laws on the books for these types of situations?
Like what?
Well, murder.
Did she really ask that? I mean, Peter, Nikki, Andy, did she really just ask that question? Did you guys hear that?
Yes, you did.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. These are not serious people. Are you kidding me? Don't they already have these laws on the book for murder? Like what? Oh my God. Trey Gowdy, I have to say at that moment, Trey Gowdy is spot on. Almost always is. And perhaps that's the reason why there's nothing happening. Because if it was some, other things, if it was some other people who they think it is, they would be sending the National Guard. They'd be sending in the National Guard. We're going to hear from Miles Taylor, who's going to talk to us about how this fits in with the whole sending in of the National Guard. What does this mean for national security? What does this mean, especially sending National Guard troops to people? What is sending it to different cities? Does this set a precedent for how we deal with crime? Does this set a precedent on how we deal with gun issues? What does this mean for the national security and safety of the country? Miles Taylor joins us, but first a word from our sponsor. Support for the Don Lemon Show comes from 120 Life. Did you know that high blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for mortality? 1 in 2 adults has it. That is a coin flip that your health depends on. I have some good news for you, though. You can manage it, and you can do it naturally. 120 Life is a blend of delicious superfruit juices that help lower blood pressure without big pharma. I use it, people in my family use it, and it works. Users swear by it. Chris B says, drinking it daily improved my blood pressure. Catherine J says, my BP is normal now consistently. And you know what? Doctors recommend it too. And you can track your progress at home. Right now, get 20% off at 120life.com with the code DON. That's 120life.com, code DON, D-O-N. Risk-free trial, a full refund if your blood numbers don't drop in 2 weeks. That's 120life.com and use the code DON. Your health is what's important. Support comes from Ollie, the fresh dog food brand my dogs love. If your pups could talk, they would beg for Ollie. You know, the tail wags, excited hops, a goofy grin. That's the Ollie effect. Real human grade food, no fillers, no preservatives, just 5 drool-worthy recipes with fresh beef and sweet potatoes or turkey with blueberries. It's all made in U.S. kitchens, and Boomer, Barkley, and Gus Gus, my dogs, love it. Healthier foods mean a happier dog, more energy, shinier coats, better digestion. Honestly, your dog will probably be eating better than you. Ollie even offers unlimited routine health screenings because they care about your dog's health as much as you do. So start today. You just have to take a 30-second quiz. They're going to customize your dog's meal plan, and you'll get 60% off your first box when you subscribe. So plus a happiness guarantee. Love it, or you're going to get your money back. So what's to lose? Go to ollie.com/lemon and use the code lemon. That's ollie.com/lemon and use the code lemon. OLLIE.com/lemon and use the code lemon. Thank you to our sponsor. Thanks for joining. And let's talk about this breaking news, this shooting that happened in Minnesota. Awful. And we have to stop saying, I'm just going to say, we got to stop saying thoughts and prayers. And we actually really have to start doing something and doing the right things rather than sending troops without people wanting it to their cities. We've got to have a comprehensive approach to this.
Look, I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, one of the things, Don, that is, I'll just say it, I mean, it's grossing me out right now how quickly this is already becoming a talking point for right-wing trolls on social media to say, and we've got to get Donald Trump to deploy the military in more places in the United States. They've instantly said, because it looks like this might be a transgender shooter, ergo, America's too woke, we've got to put the military in the cities, and they're using it to justify a dictatorial crackdown. I mean, this is such perverted logic. Could we take a moment to actually talk about what needs to be done? The community policing that's needed to prevent things like this from happening, the mental health crisis that's in this country, the ease with which someone like this can go get a gun and shoot up a church. I mean, that's the conversation that we should be having right now. In fact, Don, there's one thing that I want to inject into our conversation, and we can go whichever direction you want on this point. But in the first Trump administration, when I was at DHS, the White House undertook an effort to crack down on mass shooters. Okay. So whatever Trump says next, I want him to tell us what came of that effort, because I remember getting pulled into a room with all the other heads of all the other departments and agencies and told by the White House, we're going to make you guys focus on solutions to this crisis. And our department, DHS at the time, said, all right, we will. We've got thoughts, we've got answers about how to go tackle this challenge. And one of those thoughts was, we need more security around soft targets in crowded places in the United States, especially places of worship, which were being targeted at the time, whether they were Jewish places of worship or Christian churches, you name it. Those are places that we know dangerous individuals go, and more support to communities to protect those places is something that we advocated for.
Yeah.
I ended up leaving the administration, Don, before that report was finalized, before that task force was finalized. But do you know what I was told by the person who was running that task force that primarily it ended up focusing on? That task force primarily ended up focusing on what the gun lobby wanted to do. So a guy named Josh Venable, who was chief of staff at the Department of Education, ended up being the one who had to lead that task force. And he later told me that they could not even get the final report with all the solutions that we had put into it throughout the government. They couldn't get the final report out until the White House went and got approval from gun lobbyists to put that report out. That's what this White House prioritized, not how many children's lives can we save, how many people's lives can we save from mass shootings, but will the gun lobby give us permission to put this report out?
Well, and that's one part of the hypocrisy and really the real shame that we don't deal with this in a proper manner. But I want to put a button on this whole transgender thing because the right is already going crazy. This is yet another distraction. So the fact that is, this is the difference, okay? And I tell you, Miles, I think you know this. I don't belong to a political party. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican, okay? The difference is here, whether the shooter is trans or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change most people, the sensible people, many of them on the left, that there should be comprehensive gun legislation. The gender of the shooter does not matter. The ideology, the political party of the shooter does not matter for most people, except for the MAGA folks who want to turn this into something other than, because you can have mental health issues no matter what your gender is, no matter what your ethnicity is, no matter what your background is, no matter social, economic, or whatever. And so that doesn't really, it shouldn't really take us away from the real argument and the real meat of where we should be going, instead of focusing on this whole, these sort of culture wars that keep us distracted and doesn't do anything that's really going to help get us out of this, prevent this from happening.
I think that's absolutely right. And the fact that this is happening so quickly, and apologies, John, I'm moving because I'm getting swarmed by mosquitoes here in Trump's Washington. So they may have deployed the National Guard on the streets, but they're clearly not cracking down on mosquitoes. It was an absolute swarm. But look, in all seriousness, this is, as we're watching this event unfold live today, you compare it to Parkland. You compare it to what happened in Connecticut. You compare it to these other mass shootings. This is the fastest, in my memory, something like this has so crassly and so quickly been used to justify an unjustifiable political position. That's what's really scaring me, is we're not even at the place anymore where we can take these sorts of attacks seriously, where we can actually express not just solidarity with the victims and their families, but talk about how to make our communities safer. We can't even have that conversation. We didn't have 10 minutes to have that conversation this time. And I'll say, and I was saying this to you while you and I were in the green room, I watched that video of that boy being interviewed who was ducking and trying to hide as this attack took place. It's probably the most gut-wrenching thing I have seen in months. And all of us, by not holding people accountable who are trying to shift this into a let's put the Trump, the dictator, hat on to solve this problem, all of us are doing that family a disservice if we don't shut down that kind of discourse, because that's not what this is about. This is not about, man, we need to empower Donald Trump to go destroy the woke mob. This is about how do we protect children and families when they're in a place of worship, when they are vulnerable, when they think they're safe and they're not.
But sadly, though, don't you think that this is going to become the distraction? And by the time this, look, if this is maybe this gets 1 or 2 more days, perhaps, or a couple more hours, because the shooter is reportedly trans. Okay, maybe it gets, but other than that, Miles, it just makes me sad, because this would be out of the news in a day or so, because we've become inured to it. And so maybe this trans thing will keep it in the news, but not for the right reasons.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. And and I'll also push back against the notion that there's nothing that can be done on the issue of guns. I mean, you said it yourself. Comprehensive gun legislation is possible. And I will tell you, as a lifelong Republican, I spent so much time literally on that side of the aisle in Congress, working with members of Congress on this question. And when an event like this would happen, there was a reflexive attitude to go out there and defensively say, there's nothing we can do on this. We don't want to touch the issue of guns. But then when you dig a little bit deeper, there is actually a lot of bipartisan support for really, really practical things that can be done on this huge public safety crisis among Republicans and Democrats. But there's not a willingness in the White House to do that. There hasn't been a willingness, and Republicans are going to follow suit with what they're seeing down Pennsylvania Avenue. So I'm not going to hold my breath, but this is one of those instances where, by God, I hope we can just say, could we put those practical ideas back on the table that the majority of Americans agree to, that the majority of members of Congress agree to, and get them passed to make it harder for someone to go shoot up a church? You would think one of these days that would be possible. And if Donald Trump's going to focus his, if he's going to call himself a dictator and say he has dictatorial powers, well, you know what? Then on this issue, prove it. On this issue, prove that you can go dictate to Congress that we get a solution to this problem. That's where I want you to go prove your dictatorial powers.
Do you think? Look, I think that would be great. Sadly, I have to say that I don't believe it's going to happen, and you may not. You probably don't disagree with me. But I would love for it to happen. But where do you think this is going to take us now that we have an autocrat or a dictator who is, I believe, going about it the wrong way instead of focusing on the things that you and I believe they should be focusing on, or he should be focusing on? He is, without consent, without asking, without any of it, sending troops, members of the National Guard into American cities, blue cities, and really usurping the power of the local and state leaders. We could be fighting if he would call some of these folks up and say, hey, look, we got a crime problem. I have some resources I can help you out. Let's work together on something. You know, solving crime is about, can be handled in many different ways. How can we work together on this? Perhaps I can send you some resources or what have you. Instead of doing that, what do you think what do you think the odds are that something like that would happen, or if he's just going to lean into his authoritarian instincts and just say, see, that's what we should be doing. That's why that's why it is okay for us to be doing what we're doing. We're right about this.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's going to be the latter, Don. I think we're going to see this White House double down on the deployment of the United States military and federal forces in American cities as the way to solve crime. And let me just recenter us on why that's not actually the solution to crime fighting in U.S. cities. And when I was at DHS, we were and remain the largest federal law enforcement department in the United States. And if there was one lesson we learned in federal law enforcement, it was that if you really want to crack down on crime, it's about the community. In other words, anytime you're bringing in outsiders, you're making it harder and harder and harder to attack the problem. Why? For a very simple reason. Outsiders tend to not know that town, that state, that region that they're deployed into nearly as well as people who grew up there, people who are law enforcement there. And so you have a totally different response to the threat, and you have a totally different reception from the community. So if you really want to crack down on crime, what you want to do is bolster a local police force, bolster the local sheriff's office, bolster the local mental health support and community support architecture, not bring in outside federal forces much more dramatically. And look, you could use examples from the occupation in Iraq if you wanted to, back to the 1950s if you wanted to. There's plenty of examples of this being the reality. But I suspect we're going to start to see that in some of these places where Trump is deploying U.S. troops, is not only that it won't be having a positive effect, it'll probably end up being counterproductive. The thing I worry about, Don, is I think very, very nefariously, that's the thing that people like Stephen Miller want, is that they want to see communities react poorly to U.S. forces coming in. True. And they're hopeful that there are protests, if not violent protests, against those forces to justify a further crackdown. And this is why I've been saying that the initial deployment in Los Angeles was kind of a disappointment to them, because I think Miller and the White House picked Los Angeles as the first place to do that because they were expecting it to be a flashpoint in the immigrant community there. And these were the types of conversations people like that were having in the first Trump administration, is how do you create a sensation that gets the other side to overreact? And when the other side didn't overreact, when there weren't violent, terrible attacks on the Marines deployed in Los Angeles, it really deprived the administration of the optic they were looking for, which is, see, this is how dangerous and deadly the left is, and this is why we need to deploy more forces in more places. They've tried that again in D.C., and look, I'll say that people here have chosen nonviolence, and hopefully that continues to be the case, but I worry they're trying to instigate something more to justify the additional measures Trump wants to put in place.
A lot of people have chosen to stay home too. The businesses and the restaurants I hear are not doing well, and I'm hearing I will be there next week, but I'm hearing there aren't as many.
Yeah,
people
well, let me show you right now. I mean, this would normally be a block, Don, where this is a bunch of coffee shops and lunch places that I'm on right now that would normally be busy. There's no one. I mean, there's no one out here at these places. In fact, I was just interviewing.
Oh my gosh!
I was just interviewing a local business owner, and I asked that question. I said, "Are you guys seeing the decreased foot traffic?" Because I've been outside of DC for a couple weeks, and he said to me, "Not just decrease foot traffic. He's like, this is the worst that I have seen it in years. So Washington's getting hammered. And I think, look, that's one of the
hang on. Why is
practical.
he saying it's the best? Have you seen all the restaurants are full, the businesses are overflowing? Why is he saying that? He said that just the other day.
Well, it's the optic that he has to keep up. And what's going to be really perverse about this is if Trump gets his way and he gets his $2 billion that he wants to beautify Washington, D.C., he's going to be beautifying a ghost town, because this is honestly the thinnest that I have seen the coffee shops and the restaurants in terms of patronage in a long time in this town. And I would say that's also a message that needs to get out to leaders in other cities across the country as they're pushing back against Trump's deployments, because he's not going to be sympathetic to messaging about crime. He's going to say, I can send whoever I want into those cities. But I'll tell you what Donald Trump is sensitive about. He's sensitive about messaging around the economy. He's sensitive about money. So if we start seeing more and more pictures of empty restaurants in Washington, D.C., and if he deploys troops to Chicago, pictures of empty restaurants in Chicago, that's going to be something that starts to affect Donald Trump's psyche, is that people aren't spending money anymore in America, and people are scared to go out in American cities. That's the place where I think it's going to have an impact on him. Now, I'm not saying that that makes any of it right, Don. I mean, I think that that's perverse, that we've got to think about how could we possibly appeal to Donald Trump to stop doing these deployments in American cities. But that's one of those things he's going to have to contend with, is the hollowing out of commerce in these cities where troops are deployed. And you can certainly see it and you can feel it when you're here in Washington.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to ask you, well, first of all, I want to ask the folks who are watching us to make sure you hit the thumbs up, hit the likes, hit the hearts, smash the screen so that more people become aware of our conversation here. And I just want to tell you, if you're joining us and you're looking at the top left of your screen where you see Miles Taylor, Don Lemon, if you click on that, you can subscribe to both of our channels. And to make sure you're subscribed to both of our channels, all you do is hit that, both of our names pop up, and hit subscribe. But make sure you smash the screen so more people become aware. What do you think this does, the way he's handling things now? Does this set a weird or any sort of strange precedent for national security and the way we handle security and crime in our country?
Well, look, I think it really does, Don. I think it creates this sort of precedent. And I'm telling you, the more I look on the street, by the way, it's just the more stuff is closed, the more stuff is empty. This would normally be just such a busy street. Trying to get you more angles of that. But look, I would say this. Trump is setting a precedent that whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, you really don't want to see continue into the future. And that precedent is, if we don't like what we are seeing from here in Washington, we can mount a federal takeover anywhere in America to try to make it the way we want. So if you're a Republican and you like what you see with Donald Trump, well, do you really want in 3.5 years a Democratic president to come in and say, actually, let me go to Republican cities because I don't like the way that they handle their commerce. I don't like their lack of DEI policies, and on down the list. And I'm going to deploy federal forces from DHS. I'm going to deploy the National Guard to go enforce my edicts. We don't want that. Americans don't want that in one direction or the other. But he is setting all sorts of precedents about federal takeovers, whether it's private companies like Intel and taking a 10% stake, or we just saw news in the past day, Trump is taking over Union Station here in Washington, D.C. Look, that's a key hub of commerce in this city that is, run by Amtrak. Amtrak knows the local community. They know their customers. They know what they want. Well, now Trump's guy at the Department of Transportation, Sean Duffy, is going to be the one running that major commerce hub. And we're probably going to see that in more U.S. cities. We don't want a federal takeover. That's why we don't have a king here in the United States. We don't want those decisions being made out of the White House. We want them being made locally. So I think that's the precedent people worry about. And from a public safety and national security perspective, again, going back to the idea of community policing, it is much better if you fight crime locally than fighting crime with federal forces. It's a much better place to start, and I think that's what people need to focus on as we go forward.
I think what's surprising to me is that we've been talking for nearly 20 minutes now, just about 20 minutes on the nose, and I think I've seen 2 people pass behind you or in your shot.
Yeah, there's like that. I'm trying to give you that vantage point.
It's really shocking. And there's no heat wave or anything. This is like beautiful weather in Washington, D.C. There's a third person right there.
It's gorgeous weather, but people really are just not out and eating. And a number of these restaurants that would normally be open are they're closed right now. And it should be happy hour, or it should be just before happy hour where people are out having drinks. But that's not the case. And you also see this in other parts of the city where, young people go out, where there's, dining establishments. They've got National Guard checkpoints set up, and they've got checkpoints with ICE officers set up. And it's dissuading people from going out. It's dissuading tourists as well. And, that's one of the other things, Don, that I want to point out that's worrying to me about where this could go next is cynical folks will say, well, he's targeting illegal immigrants and he's targeting criminals. He's not targeting me. Well, the reason why tourism is dipping in this country is a lot of people don't want to travel here because increasingly U.S. authorities are trawling their social media to see if they've said things that are critical about the United States, to see if they have done things that are unfavorable to this administration. And they're using that data to make determinations about who gets to come here and who gets to stay here and who doesn't. Once an agency like DHS develops that capacity really fluently, once DHS gets really good at scraping the social media of millions of people who are traveling to this country, it's only a flip of the switch before the president of the United States says he wants to use those same tools against Americans to make a decision on something like disaster aid, to make a decision on something like student loans. This is what we avoided for so long after 9/11, is this big monitoring apparatus inside the US government that's focused inward. Think about the years of fights and debates that you and I witnessed or were a part of in Washington about preventing us from becoming a police state. And now all of those things have happened in a matter of months, if not weeks.
Yeah. Thank you, Miles. And let me tell everyone, consider becoming a paid subscriber. That's how we stay viable out here on these streaming independent streets. And so you can keep people like Miles so he can walk around Washington, D.C. and show us what's happening. And
it's better than in my car, Don, because my car has no one in it that's interesting to talk to. But Washington's become a bit of a ghost town. So
Yeah.
let's hope we don't see that in more American cities. And I appreciate you as always having me on and urge folks likewise to subscribe to your channel.
Absolutely, and your channel as well. And thank you. And look, let's hope that things don't get worse in Minnesota. It's already very tragic. Let's hope it doesn't turn even more tragic. Thank you, Miles Taylor.
Thanks, John Lemon.
National security expert, Mr. Miles Taylor, and we take that just before the show. And I did that on the Substack platform. And so for some reason, when I do it there, it sounds like I have a list. So, do you guys notice that? Anyway, it sounds weird. But anyway, that was Miles Taylor joining us from the streets. Did you see how dead the streets of Washington, D.C. are? Donald Trump says they're doing the best. I don't know about that, brother. Okay, so let's bring it back to the beginning, the circle here, because I want to talk to you about transgender people and ideologies, okay? Let's just remember, who do you think the most popular or most well-known transgender person is in the country, if not the world? Who do you think it is? Anybody have any ideas? Any clue? Anybody? I'm going to wait, see if you guys have something to comment, even if it's over on the TikTok. Who is, I don't think RuPaul is transgender. I think RuPaul is just a cross-dresser. I mean, do you think that's right? Peter, Nikki, I think.
I would say drag queen, but definitely.
Yeah, it's a drag queen. Yeah, it's a drag queen, cross-dresser, dresser. Yeah, that's not, I don't think that. Okay, someone said T.S. Madison, some said Laverne Cox. I think it's Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner is a raving conservative and also a raving MAGA person, a raging Donald Trump supporter, and is conservative. So the fact that they're trying to something and saying, "Oh, this is liberal," so we don't know what the ideology. And if you look at some of the things that were supposedly in the manifesto, it doesn't ring true with liberal ideology. It just doesn't make sense. But I just wanted to show you something, because I actually I go out and I interview people. I'm going to start doing more next week when we're back to life, right after the summer. Get ready, okay? I'm going to be out there on the streets talking to people and also talking to congressmen and lawmakers and all of that. So here's the thing. I run into people of all different persuasions, and I run into conservative transgender people. They're not all liberals. Here's one of them.
I think the Democrats have screwed us all.
The Democrats in New York?
Of course. I walked away from the Democrat plantation. I had to. Just because I'm transgender doesn't mean I need to be a Democrat. I hate what the city has become. It used to be beautiful and fabulous.
And?
Now it's shitty and we need Trump 2028.
Who do you think should be the next mayor? Wait, hold on. Trump 2028, you think he should run again?
Of course.
But that's not.
Hey, the Democrats can be like, we can get Obama. So you know what? Go along with it. I think.
You want to see an Obama Trump?
Yes.
In 2028?
Yeah.
Who would win?
Trump. Well, if Mike runs and not Barack, then Mike might win.
Who is Mike?
AKA Michelle.
Now, you're a transgender.
I am, yeah.
Now,
well,
what-
I'm a
you're-
man.
you're-
Just because I'm transgender doesn't mean I am a woman.
Okay.
God only made two genders.
Okay. But why are you saying that about someone who does not identify as a man and has not come out as transgender? You don't think that? You don't think that's disrespectful?
I'm out in the bitch. And Joan Rivers, may you rest in peace. I'm so sorry what they did to you.
Do you have any evidence of what you're saying about the former first lady? Because there are people that Melania Trump, you heard she's a man too.
Well, I haven't heard that, but
No, I've heard it.
That's fabulous.
They call her Big Mel.
She's prettier, but
no, she's not. They call her Big Mel.
I couldn't tell you if I know for sure or not because I might have signed an NDA. But
well, that happens a lot with the Trump administration. Anyway, I don't know if I had run that before because I thought it didn't relate to anything, and so I made an editorial decision not to run it. I may have run a clip from it. I don't remember. So if you've seen it on social media, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I don't remember. Again, however, let me just say that the reason I say that is because she says, she's obviously, I'm just saying, there's one in every group. But what I'm saying is a big Mel. I have heard that, and so look, that's what people are saying. People say that. Just as they make that stuff up about Michelle Obama, I've heard it about Melania Trump. People say, "Oh, Melania Trump, it looks like a ladyboy. Is a ladyboy." But the thing is that Democrats don't run with that and do the same things that the MAGA group and conservatives do as it relates to the former First Lady Michelle Obama, who has 2 kids and obviously is not trans or any of that stuff. I'm just saying. So it's good for the goose. It's good for the gander. So by the way, if you want to know anything about the show, you can check it out right here, The Don Lemon Show, at donlemon.com. You can click on the watch button and it'll take you to our main page right here on YouTube. You want to go with Papa? It'll take you to our main page on YouTube. And you can become a subscriber or you can join. Okay, become a subscriber or join. The subscriptions are free, and to join it is extremely reasonable. Okay, and so you can do that. Now let's go and look at some of our lemon heads. I want to just shout them out because I like them because they are on the merch site and they're buying stuff. Thank you so much. Who's this beautiful lady?
This is Carmen.
Carmen watches us on the TV and she's got the comments scrolling and she's got her Don Lemon Live mug. Carmen, thank you for your support. Beautiful lady. Where's Carmen from? Does it say?
It does not say, no.
Not say. Who's this?
This is Christy from Northern Virginia.
Hi, Christy from Northern Virginia. Look at that. Don Lemon's biggest fan. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And we have a few photos here from Rose from Westchester
Rose.
County.
I love it. Do you guys see how popular that fan is? We got to thank Reese Colbert for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where's she from?
Westchester County.
What's her name again?
Rose.
Rose. Hi, Rose from Westchester County. Who's this cutie? Did she tell us?
No.
No.
Rose's dog.
Hi, Rose's dog. Cutie. That's Rose again with the shirt. Very nice. Very nice. She's a pretty lady too. Look at that. I love.
Your camera died?
Yeah, that was my camera because of my battery. Keep going. Who else do we have?
That's everyone. But
That's
I can
everybody except for me.
Except for you. Want me to play the theme song while we're waiting?
Oh my gosh, you guys, do we need a little joy in the theme song right now?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
It's the Don Lemon Show. It's the Don Lemon Show. He's unmasking the truth. He don't take no shit. It's the Don Lemon Show. Don Lemon. Don, 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 Don.
Come on, tell me that song doesn't grow on you, because every day you guys are like, play the song. Is there like a little thing in the back that goes, did you guys hear that? That was the first time I heard it. All right, I know you're going to hate it, but let me hear it again. I think there's a thing that goes, like when they, go ahead.
It's the Don Lemon Show. It's the Don Lemon Show. He's unmasking the truth. He don't take no shit. It's the Don Lemon Show. Don Lemon. Don.
That's it. Did you hear it?
Yeah.
Release the Epstein files.
Oh my gosh. We're going to have to put that. Which song do you like? The original or that one? Or both? Anyways, okay, guys. Thank you for helping to build this community. It is a very special community, very special place. I'm so glad that you're here and that you're a part of it. And so thank you for your support. And as I always tell you, check out our merch store. Not that I always tell you that, but become a member. It keeps us viable on these streaming streets. And also make sure you're subscribed. Just because you're a member doesn't mean that you're a subscriber. So thank you, TikTok, for tuning in. Thank you, Instagram, for tuning in. Thank you, Facebook, for tuning in. iHeart, Apple, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and thank you, YouTube. We appreciate all of it. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, become a member, and follow us on all of our different platforms. So until I see you back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time for Hot Topics, make sure you do this. Be informed without being inundated, and turn the TV off. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support.